Welcome to the Juggling Mind and Money podcast with Steve Rowe and Jessica Schlupp-Taylor. Steve Rowe is the founder of Lucent Financial Planning and an award-winning independent financial planner. He helps you to use your money and have a great life. Jess Schlupp-Taylor is a psychologist supporting people through change, challenges, and forks in the road of life. Together, they will help unblock the sludge in your mind, stopping you from achieving financial and psychological happiness.
Hello, and welcome back to Episode 2 of Juggling Mind and Money with me, Jessica Schlupp-Taylor, and him,
Steve Rowe.
Hope you're both in balance. I can't do that. I hope you are but no.
Well,
that doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't.
I can't read that. We're not reading that.
No.
Right, today we're going to be looking at various things, aren't we? To get you happy, keep you happy, or just lift your day up slightly. Talking about mind and money, how our mental health affects our money, and how money affects our mental health.
That's it. I could have done that bit. That
Yeah,
would have been a good doot.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Next time. You just have to kick me.
Yeah, on the third time. So we're trying to keep this light-hearted, but we are going to be tackling some pretty heavy subjects, aren't we, Jess?
We are. But in a light-hearted way.
Yeah, because there are bad stuff in life. There is bad stuff going on.
Well, we have to be serious in our jobs.
Yeah, all the time. And life's too short to be serious all the time.
Yeah. So this is a bit of fun.
So we're going to keep it light-hearted, but if anything's affecting anyone who's listening, we'll happily speak to them, won't we?
Yeah.
At any point. To make them a bit happier.
Make them happier. Bring a bit of light.
Which is what we both do, essentially.
You do it for money, and I do it for mind.
Brilliant. So that was really good.
Thanks.
Okay.
I almost sound like I'm professional.
So what are we going to do today then, Jess?
Today we are going to do Diagnose Steve.
Oh.
Diagnose Steve. There's obviously something wrong with him. Jess delves into what it could be.
Diagnose Steve. Okay, so I need to tell you some symptoms.
Yeah, or some traits.
Yeah. So, Jess, I really struggle because I'm quite... Oh, nice. I'm quite easily distracted.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I'm forgetful.
Yeah.
I'm quite impulsive.
Thanks.
I find it difficult.
Better a slap than a grope.
Well, can't do that, ladies and gentlemen. I find it difficult to sit in still. I'm really disorganised. I'm late. I'm early. My time management's poor. Find it difficult waiting my turn. I'm pushing in queues. I haven't finished. I need to wait. Find it difficult waiting my turn.
Yeah.
All these things. So what could be affecting me there, do you reckon?
So a lot of the things that you're describing, Steve, would link with ADHD traits or traits. Doesn't mean that you have it.
No. My God, it's almost like we've prepared.
Because often you don't get diagnosed with ADHD unless it affects your life. So a lot of people have these traits, but they have them under control. Other people have these traits and they really impact their life, and that's when they would more likely get a diagnosis.
Okay, so what does ADHD mean?
So it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Right.
But you can also have ADD, attention deficit disorder, which is the same thing but without the hyperactivity.
But sitting down more.
Well, you can still sit down, but you just fidget when you sit down. You know, when you see people that they sit in one position and then another position and then another position, and it's almost like they've got ants in their pants, or they can't get comfortable, or the kids that can't sit through a dinner without getting up and moving around and doing something.
So genuinely now, I am a fidgeter.
You are a fidgeter.
But I am also massive, so I've always blamed furniture designers.
Well, that's it. So sometimes it depends on how many traits you have. One trait does not make ADHD.
No.
And nor does having all of them. It's all about how it affects you and how many of them. I think, normally with a lot of these, either all these different disorders that they call, but, some people would say them superpowers. It depends on, you have to have a certain amount of traits, but not necessarily all of them. So people might read the ADHD list of signs and symptoms and go, oh, I've got that, but not that. I've got that, but not that. And again, it depends on how it impacts your life rather than if you necessarily have that trait.
Okay, so if I had ADHD or ADD, why does that matter? How is it affecting me?
Well, obviously, it can affect your ability to learn, because one of the key things around learning and why a lot of ADHD children in the past, and probably still now because a lot of them slip through the net, especially girls, struggle with focus and attention and concentration. So then the ability to absorb information is reduced, which means their learning power is reduced. So it's nothing to do with intelligence. They can be really intelligent and they could be great at learning, but they just can't find the ability to focus to learn. If we can unlock that, then that means that they can absorb and learn.
Okay, so
Which is why a lot of the kids get diagnosed and then they get given medication. And for some, not all, but with the right medication, that can lead them to suddenly being able to absorb information. And the kid that they thought was not very clever actually is really bright.
You mentioned a moment ago about superpowers. So I think everything comes in balance, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You're not good at one thing, you're better at another. What sort of superpowers do people with ADHD or ADD have?
Yeah, so a lot of neuroatypical people can tend to be quite creative. Not all of them, again. Some people really not. Some of them are really good at hyperfocus. So if it's something that interests them, if it's a topic that they really love or they're passionate about, it could be tennis training, it could be some sort of sport, it could be trains, it could be whatever. But it's something that they can then get fully absorbed in, and you almost won't see them for 3 hours because they've started something and they get lost in it. So really, really good with work if they're doing a task or a job that they're passionate and they enjoy.
Hyperfocus.
Hyperfocus.
Could do with some of that
Hyperdrive.
sometime. Can you just turn it on?
Sadly not, although you can use, there are ways and coping mechanisms that you can help to achieve that, as actually with normal people you can also find ways to do that. It's not as easy though. It's definitely got to be something that catches you that you want to do, because the problem with ADHD and ADD is that if it's not something that they're interested in, it's so difficult to get them to do it. And it's not because they're not willing. They might truly want to do something, but if it's not something that their brain connects with, it's just not going to happen.
If you're a neurotypical person then, because I think surely everyone finds a lot of things quite boring.
Yes.
And it might not interest them, and they will find it hard to focus on that.
And again, it's the level that it takes of the focus. So most neurotypicals, if somebody gives them a set of directions to get from the pub to the corner shop, will be able to, and there's 4 directions in there, will be able to take that in. Whereas some neuroatypical people will listen to the first one and then their brain literally just shuts down and doesn't hear anything afterwards.
Okay.
But again, everybody has diverse traits. Everybody's on a spectrum, and there's no black and white here. There's a lot of grey fuzziness. So yes, we've all got certain traits, and yes, we might have some traits stronger than others. Does it mean that we are severe enough, or it affects our life enough to then be able to be classed as ADHD or ADD? Or
If you're talking about that spectrum, then how many people? You know what they say neurotypical. How many people are neurotypical? Is that 40%?
Well, you know
or
what?
80?
I don't actually know the figures, but I have a feeling. So I've got a theory on. A lot of people will say, "Oh, everyone's getting diagnosed now."
I love a Jess theory.
10% of it was never around in my day. Yeah, you had the odd naughty kid, but this is ridiculous. Everyone's getting diagnosed. In fact, Warwickshire County Council, their meeting was streamed. Oh my goodness, the attitude towards SEN and autism and ADHD, they've all been parked and it's being looked into.
Or is this a famous thing then?
Yeah, well, I don't know how viral it went, but it went viral within the SEN, the Special Educational Needs community.
When was that? Some time ago?
Literally about a month ago.
Oh, okay, recently.
Yeah, recently. So a lot of people think that it's almost a trend, But truthfully, my theory on it is that a lot of people that might have had mild traits back in farming days, or when life was simpler, when you had less input. Whereas, so if you think, when I was a kid, between my walk to school and back, I would come across some billboards on the newsagents. There might be a bus that goes past with an advertising sign. But generally, I'm left to myself with my own thoughts to find my own peace.
Okay.
Whereas now, if a kid walks to school, they're probably listening to music, they've got notifications popping up on their phone, they've got all the stuff that's going on around them, they've got their mates shoving their mobile phone in their faces. They've probably got 1,000 inputs between home and school, and their brain doesn't find any quiet. When they're at home, when I was at home as a kid, TV was what? I don't want to reveal my age, but it was about an hour of decent kids TV a day.
Then Neighbours.
Yeah, then Neighbours. Everyone loves Neighbours. If you don't, slightly odd. I don't love Neighbours anymore.
No. Well, it's on. Well, they're bringing it back, actually, aren't they?
I don't know. Need to look into that. Neighbours. Note to self. But yeah, you were limited in terms of the input that came into you. Whereas now the kids come home, and people come home, not just kids, these are adults. You have the news notifications, you're working on your email, your laptop, there's ping pongs everywhere.
You're listening to Juggling Mind and Money on a podcast.
Yes.
No doubt.
Distracting you from finding peace. But you might
are the peace.
But you might find laughter with it, and that's just as good. So yeah, there's a lot more input, a lot less quiet time. And so actually I have a feeling that the increase in stimulus means that some of the ADHD or the autistic traits are magnified in people.
And could this be combined with, because we're probably less active these days than 50
Absolutely.
years ago?
Exercise truly helps ADHD.
Yeah.
Exercise is a biggie. Exercise helps everybody. Who are we kidding? But it is particularly helpful. Processed food is not great. Gut biodiversity is much better. Is really helpful if you can have good.
You need a jar full of seeds, don't you?
You need a jar full of seeds. Steve's just seen my jar full of seeds. My friend has said, Jess, gut biodiversity. But yeah, there's lots of things that can be helpful, but actually in this modern world goes against us.
It's hard. It is hard,
isn't it? It is hard. It's hard for everybody, I think, to try to find peace, to try to find quiet, to be able to cope with all the stimulus that comes in our life, be able to switch from one task to another. And ADHD is you can get so easily distracted by things. You imagine the things that there are to distract us now. It's vast.
I'll give you a real life example of this.
Yeah.
At work, by the end of the day, I am pretty knackered.
Yes.
And Lindsay, who's lovely, she works with us, she batters me with messages from different formats.
Yeah.
So WhatsApp, Teams messages, emails, shouting over the desk. Quite often all saying the same thing. And it does feel like it's coming from every direction.
And is that because you've ignored her throughout the day?
Absolutely.
When she's tried to speak to you, and so now she's bombarded you?
No, because I might be in a meeting and it's been an hour and I haven't replied.
Yeah.
So she tries something else.
Okay.
But I just haven't been there.
So what do you think could be a solution for that, Steve?
Ooh, turn them off.
Well, you still need to have knowledge of these
one.
messages, I'm assuming. But yeah, ask what channel works best for you.
Or have windows. Windows of time.
Windows of time. Catch-up time with Lindsay. Just a 5-minute catch-up. Give me the messages. Which one's the key takeaways? Thanks a lot. Job done.
That is a good
It's
idea.
a lot less stressful. Stop sending me everything. We've got 5 minutes at the end of every day for you to download stuff. If it's something emergency, then you can interrupt me. And if you need to interrupt me for an emergency, use this channel.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. So these podcasts are probably actually fake, and this is all just about how to help me. Thanks, Jess. But that is a useful tip.
Thanks, pleasure.
Probably will help someone else. So as I understand it, ADHD can affect things like organisation, time management, and impulse control.
Yeah, and it's also often linked with other issues. Not issues, challenges, superpowers, whatever you want to call them. it can be linked with autism. It could be linked with other mental health issues, bipolar, manic depressive. That's not to say that if you have ADHD, you have these other things. Sometimes it falls alongside dyslexia or dyspraxia, and they can be interlinked, which again also add to things like organisational issues.
Each of those words that are very hard to pronounce is a show in itself.
Probably, yes.
It? We will get to those.
Yeah.
If we can spend some time learning how to pronounce them, because I can't. So,
Are you flicking over your paper? I'm going to flick it over at the same time, so we only have one set of noise flicking paper over in one go.
In my business, we have people come to see us, and I sit before them as financial planner, and they obviously are all sorts of people. So on the one hand, we have extremely well organised. They bring files of stuff.
Yeah.
And they've got little tabs on it, and they can turn to the correct page.
And then they make a joke saying that they're OCD about their finances.
Yeah. And that is amazing for us because it's very easy. On the other hand, and this is most people to varying degrees, Jess raises a hand.
Yeah, highly disorganised.
They haven't got a clue. And it's almost like a shopping bag.
Of receipts. Those people that take the receipts to the accountant in a bag.
And they empty it out. And you have to go through it. If you're lucky enough to get a bag. So that's the other end of that spectrum, isn't it, of organisation.
Well, people even lose bank accounts, don't they?
They lose bank accounts, they lose pensions, they lose their share certificates.
And is there a way to help them find them, or do they have to do that themselves? How does that work?
Absolutely. There are services, excuse me, such as a pension tracing service that helps you find old pensions that you might have had 30 years ago.
But do they have to do that? Because so somebody with ADHD you might say, oh, you need to do X, Y, Z before the next meeting. And their head just goes, it's just too much for me. That blows my mind. The thought of having to join a pension tracing service, fill in some forms, simple tasks. It's not that they're not capable of doing it. Their brain just doesn't allow them to start something.
Goes
and
into
almost
overload.
and it can feel really overwhelming. Simple tasks that, yes, intellectually they're absolutely capable of, but almost, I don't want to do that. That's, oh my God, you've mentioned pension tracing. I've got to do what? I've got to contact who? Oh, that just sounds like too much hassle. Oh, and it's almost a repulsion. And it's not a repulsion from hard work because they will work incredibly hard, but not about what they do. So how do financial planners get around helping people like that?
So I find many of my clients find me repulsive. And it might not...
It's not when you wear your teddy bear cardigan.
No, and I assume that is when I ask them to find this stuff. Now, obviously, that is really hard and dull, and I know that sometimes I would struggle to find certain things. So that is something, if you get a good financial planner on your side, they can go and do that all for you and contact those companies directly and get the information required. So getting, like anything, isn't it? If you get someone to help you and they do it for you, it takes it all away.
You simplify the process.
That's it. And this is where we can put in place things or services that just take that pressure off. So if you're no good at it and you don't like doing it and it makes you unhappy, why try?
And did you know it's one of the best ways to spend money? I'm sure you did because you like all this sort of stuff. But happiness is increased when you spend money on experiences or making your life easier. So if you pay for somebody to do jobs that you don't like.
Well, my belief is all your money, you need money to exist, obviously, but all your money should be spent on either things that enhance your happiness or paying someone to take away the pains.
Yes, and that would be really relevant for people with ADHD or ADD is finding and having enough money and finding a way to make sure they've got enough money so that they can actually resource exit the stuff they don't like.
Take the pain away.
Yeah, because it is painful to them. And I don't think unless you've got it and you can experience it, people don't understand, but it is a real pain point. if you really want to do something, but physically you can't, to be able to outsource that to somebody else and be able to have that financial freedom to be able to do that, that must take a huge weight off their shoulders.
So it does almost manifest itself physically, like it is a
Yes.
seizing up.
Well, it can do. It depends on the person, but it can be a physical reaction of just sitting there, and in their head, their brain has switched off from listening and almost gone into shutdown. And even knowing that they've got to do a task, they could have a to-do list as long as their arm. They might be sitting there, and you're thinking, why haven't they come back to me? Why haven't they? All they had to do was sign some forms, and you've chased them possibly 2 or 3 times. And they might be sitting there thinking, right, I'm going to do the forms after the coffee. And then they get distracted with something else, or they procrastinate and, I do need to find those forms. Now, where could they be? I suppose they could be there. But whilst I'm there, I'll just move the Christmas decorations back up into the loft. And it's that sort of thing. And 3 months has passed and you're thinking, is this client not interested in having help? And they truly are. They just can't get past that final hurdle. And so sometimes it's just a case of continuing to contact until you reach that moment where you're like, you know what, you're on the phone to me at the minute, why don't you go up into the loft, leave me on speaker and see if you can find it whilst I'm talking to you. Because you can have ADHD buddy systems.
Oh, tell me about that.
Have you not heard of
No.
So if having ADHD is one of those things, it's difficult to find motivation to do tasks that aren't of interest. Yeah. And if you have an ADHD buddy, it's almost like a swap of time. So you're like, right, I'll go over to my friend's house who's got ADHD and what are the tasks that you want to get done but you haven't been able to?
Is this where they wouldn't mind doing those tasks?
Yes.
And you sort of interlink.
And you basically give them the start to then do it, and you do it with them and it's done. When they start, it's done. But it's getting that started bit. And then they'll swap and they'll come over to your house and they'll go, right, what is it that you want to get done? It might be, sorting through all the clothes. It might be sorting out all the mismatched socks, that sort of jobs. ADHD buddy. But often it can just have somebody on the end of the phone going, you know what, I'll be on speaker. Go and get that. I'll wait here for you. And that will give them the nudge enough. That will give them the little past procrastination and take action.
And that could be me, you, anyone, a friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is all really important when it comes to personal finance, because anything that stops you doing something that will be better for your money and potentially your life has profound impacts that could, mean you can't do certain things later, for example. Yeah,
there's some really long-term effects with having ADHD, being able to look after your money. You might not consider long-term, it's not on your radar, organising a pension or sorting out investments or something like that. Just even, working out your debt and how best to pay it off. It's just not on a radar, and they can get themselves into real financial difficulty that wouldn't have to have happened had they have been more supported.
And all that time they're missing out on opportunities, that perhaps paying more because late payments, for example.
Yeah, exactly. And vice versa. It might be that they've got plenty of money, highly successful, but actually their future life would have looked much richer and more financial freedom earlier had they have had the support and been able to take action around their finances earlier.
So it seems to me like we need to make all this stuff as easy as possible.
Yes, simplify.
Potentially
accessible.
Get a buddy.
Yes.
Get someone to help automate all this stuff, or if you can't do that yourself. And then once it's automated, you don't have to do anything else.
Perfect. That's ADHD dream with stuff that they're not interested in. Automate it, let it tick along for you. Hand it off to somebody else.
Someone's only written a book about this.
Oh. Dun, dun, dun. Tell us about the book, Steve.
It's called The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach, Batch, B-A-C-H.
B-A-C-H, Bach.
I have no idea.
Bach.
So, yeah, how to say that. Anyway, it's a great book. I think it might be a few decades old now. I don't know. But it's a great book because it's about automating everything you do. So everyone needs to save for their future, for when they hang the boots up and retire.
Yeah.
Automating your monthly payments into that. And then each year, if you get a pay rise, you've already decided from the beginning that you're going to put X% of that into that pension, for example.
Okay.
And then it just keeps happening. So a decision is hard, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. So if you decide from outset, this is what I'm going to do, if this happens,
Yeah.
it's already decided.
It's already decided. So, there's also, although you're talking about automating finances,
Yeah.
which I love the idea of, there's also the very good theory, which is wonderful, which is automating as much of your life as possible. And that doesn't mean using computers or technology. It just means having patterns or systems so that your brain is, the space in your brain is freed up, the mental load is reduced, so that it frees you up to be able to make decisions better, to be able to take action where you need to. So things like, really simple things like putting your keys in the same place every single day so that you then don't have to think, where are my keys? Keeping your phone charger in the same place all the time. Having those little routines, knowing what you're having for breakfast every day. It sounds ridiculous, but there's so many decisions and input that we have all the time by keeping things as simple as possible. So, yeah, there's obviously a lot of overlap between that.
So does decision fatigue affect people with ADHD more or less
Oh, good
than
question.
neurotypicals?
I think, again, decision would be more about, is it interesting to me or not? Because if it's not interesting, it's really difficult to make a decision because their brain won't have absorbed the information to make a decision about it. So they would always be, I haven't got enough information on that. But also then I don't have enough interest to get the information to make the decision. So I'm just not going to bother.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of mental load there that will affect it.
So trying to reduce that mental load, taking away decision fatigue, automating things so they work. I understand that ADHD, people that have ADHD also might have issues about impulse control.
It's quite a major issue, and that's something that hyperactivity tends to decline as people get older.
Right.
So, generally as an adult, you won't see ADHD people whirling around the office quite so much. They still might be more active than other people, or they might be more fidgety than other people, but not quite to the level that they were at 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. Whereas impulse control and that impulsivity can stay really quite high all the way through life, which then makes spending decisions, it's almost like I don't want to make a decision, or it's not that I don't want to make a decision, it's that I'm going to make it without thinking about it.
Yeah, so that's the thing with good investing, for example. You need to think long term.
Yeah.
And that you just carry on doing what you're doing despite any outside noise. So if there's a big fall in stock markets, doesn't mean you stop, doesn't mean you change anything. Head down, carry on.
Yeah.
So if people are more affected by outside inputs and lack that impulse control, then they could make the wrong decision, and this could massively affect their wealth.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, like, starting it up.
You mean, so if they were almost looking after their own investments, the likelihood is they would make impulsive decisions, or they're more likely to make impulsive decisions that wouldn't go in their favour because it could be a bit more short-termism.
Well, potentially. So if you think about COVID, we all went into lockdown. Stock markets have gone down 30%.
Yeah.
You're on your own, or with just 1 or 2 people. That's a worrying time. We all think we're going to turn into zombies.
Yeah.
You see your money going down in value. You're not sure you're ever going to work again because you're locked up.
Yeah.
If you haven't got someone there holding your hand and going, or giving you a cuddle, it's all right.
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. You could jump in and make a wrong decision to set out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, from the flip side of that is setting it up to begin with.
Yeah.
If you're not great at long-term thinking, you might put it off for a long time.
Or you say yes to the wrong person, or you sign up to the wrong investment, and it is impulse control going, yeah, you know what, I can't bother to think about who's looking after my money or any of that. They said they can do that. They've got this badge. It'll be fine. And you sign the dotted line, and then, painful.
Yeah, because it sounds sexy.
Yeah.
Something cool, something new, a new fad to make loads of money on. which invariably go wrong, don't they? So that's another thing where if we're thinking about budgeting and not spending all of your money each month, there's tools out there that you can use, such as Pocketsmith, that help.
Pocketsmith, is that an app?
It's a website, probably an app. Pocketsmith, it will help you budget, show what you're spending money on, when money's going to come out, when money's going to be paid in on a calendar.
And some banks do that now, don't they?
Yeah, banks, a lot of them.
Shout out to Starling.
I like Starling. Itemise expenditure, tell you what you're spending your money on.
Yeah.
But also with Starling, for example, you use the spaces option.
No.
So you got
that?
one account, one bank account, but you can segregate money within it.
Yeah, I do. But then you can't take money out of you can only take money out of one account though, can't you?
Yeah, so you could set up a bucketing system if you have some of the symptoms of ADHD, where you might have holiday money in one or in one space with Starling, spending money for fun times.
Fun.
And then
holiday.
when that's gone each month, if you've got the same amount going in from your salary, once it's gone, you can't have any more fun that month, for example, rather than spending all the other money that's been allocated elsewhere.
There is the possibility, and quite a strong possibility, and I'm not saying all ADHD people, but again, impulsivity would come in and go, oh, you know what, I really want that leather jacket. I'll take it out of that account and chuck it into this one so I can get my leather jacket. So although my spending fund is on zero, I've actually got 500 quid in my holiday fund, and if I spend that, then I'll be able to pay that off
I'll
with
save
it.
it later somewhere else.
I'll save it later. I'll tackle that problem when I get to it.
This
and
is
they
true.
transfer it across. So is there a way that we can almost make it more difficult to access money?
Yeah, so some way you can lock it up for a certain amount of time. For example, if we're talking about long-term saving, if you want to save for your retirement, you can't get in a pension until you're 55.
Yeah.
That's going to change to 57 soon.
And there are certain savings accounts where you can't withdraw
for a certain amount of time. We're talking a bit about investments and the volatility of their value over time, like in COVID, how they went down a lot.
Yeah.
If you've got issues with impulse control and you think, I'll definitely sell out if it come to that because I would get the fear or be panicked, then there are investments which aren't as good financially, but if they stop you doing the right thing, the wrong thing, if they stop you making that big mistake, because they manage to make you feel a bit better,
got you,
then they might be worthwhile for that individual.
Okay.
So there's lots of things you can do. It's just about talking with someone, finding out what options are available.
And that's where a good financial planner comes in. Somebody that does understand how your brain works, why it's working that way, why you're feeling the fear, why you're picking the phone up and going, oh my God.
Yeah, and getting it done. You need that empathetic partner to go, hang on, I know what you're worried about. Why don't we try this? And you know what? It might not work. Right? It might not work. But if you don't try it, it's definitely not going to work, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can go through lots of different things where eventually, hopefully, we'd find something that does work with you, for you.
I mean, ADHD people might also be your perfect customers because they're quite they're risk takers. Do you like people that like taking risks?
Yeah, I like adventurous people. They're fun, aren't they?
They are quite good fun, yeah.
A bit more exciting.
But absolutely.
But all's good because a big folder of stuff all neat is nice as well, isn't it?
That's much better for the people that are having to do the admin bit.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't get overexcited about it.
I'm sure some people do.
They will.
Some bizarre way.
So I think to summarise this, the symptoms of ADHD, it's not just for people with ADHD. Anyone can suffer it.
Yeah.
Anyone can get decision fatigue.
And all these coping mechanisms can be really useful for pretty much everybody because everyone has traits of these things that come and go and stay with them. Doesn't mean that they have ADHD. And just because you don't have a diagnosis of something doesn't mean that you can't use the coping mechanisms.
Yeah, and everyone gets overloaded. So if you can set things up so automatically they're working.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I would definitely agree that everybody needs help reducing their mental load, reducing the amount of inputs or decisions they need to make in a day, because let's save our brain capacity for when decisions are important. Our stress levels will be massively reduced if we do automate finances, where you put your keys, where your phone charger is, all those little things that you do every day.
Yeah.
Take it across to finance. And again, that's just another way to be able to...
Chill
don't
out.
have to think about that.
Yeah.
Don't have to think about that. I know that's in safe hands, or I know that's being sorted. It's not an issue.
And, why don't you stop doing all this stuff where it can be automated and go and do something more fun instead?
Yeah, spend your time doing the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Doing the stuff that you enjoy.
Because it works. Automation works. Let's do it. Let's make it easier on ourselves.
So something that we haven't discussed is you have clients, and some, as with many parents, we have children with ADHD. And this isn't just children with ADHD, this is all children to an extent. There's always a risk that when they hit a certain age, they get the money. If you've been a parent and you've been putting money away for them every month or whatever it is, and then they hit 18, the idea that brains aren't fully deformed until about 26 years old. So decision making, impulse control, risk taking. So the idea that your 18-year-old child gets given £6,000 or £10,000 or even £2,000 with that lack of impulse control that teenagers have, the lack of decision making, the increase in risk taking, I'm not sure that
They could blow it.
They could blow it. And if you're giving it to them to blow, I suppose that's not an issue.
Fast cars, drugs, booze.
Don't take drugs.
No, but that's what could happen in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Young minds more likely to happen, maybe. So yeah, so parents can take a stand on that. They can say, look, I don't mind if they need to learn, and they'll be happy for them to get that money at 18, or we can keep it in their control. It all depends why you're gifting it. If it's just for them, great. If it's because you wanted to reduce inheritance tax, for example, you do need to give it away, but you can maintain control by having it in a trust, for example.
Yeah.
If you invest it in your name and give it to, you can decide when to give it to them.
Yeah.
At a later
So there's
point.
lots of different ways to be able to make sure that
Yeah.
perhaps if we have relatives that do have issues with impulsivity, and ADHD can be more prone to alcohol and drugs, sometimes antisocial behaviour. It's not the cause of the person. It's just one of those things. And obviously as parents, that can be quite concerning. There are steps that they can take so that actually that child is going to be cared for longer term, or have support financially longer term, without the opportunity to necessarily blow it.
So absolutely. So there's loads of financial things you can do to structure stuff to get whatever you want, really.
Okay.
In terms of control. So I think automation, getting someone else to help you.
Yeah, buddy systems.
Buddy
worthwhile.
systems, pre-set rules of what you're going to do. So decisions are already made and you just wait for the time to enact them.
Yeah.
And then potentially getting someone else to enact them for you. These are all beneficial. They'll all help your money. They'll help your mind. And then it's automatically happening and you can be in peace.
That's brilliant.
That's what
We like peace. And we like being able to spend our time doing stuff that we enjoy rather than stuff that we don't.
That is it. Psychology.
Psychology.
Yes.
And now for Sockology, where Jess and Steve review types of sock and how your socks affect your mood.
Today, Jess, I've got my dinosaur socks on.
That's pretty cool.
How do you think that makes me feel?
Happy. Because you like dinosaurs.
I love dinosaurs.
You do like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
He had a 40th birthday party full of dinosaurs.
No, it was only 46.
Was it 46?
I know I've got great skin. I look younger.
Full of dinosaurs. Blow up dinosaurs, toy dinosaurs,
Yeah.
singing dinosaurs.
Singing dinosaurs. That was great. Dinosaur cake.
Did your wife get you to wear your dinosaur socks that day?
I didn't have them on that day, no.
Oh, gutted.
Have I told you about my dinosaur teeth?
No.
So I've got my dentist said I had aesthetically the most beautiful teeth, the back ones.
The back ones.
That she'd ever seen.
But they're at the back and no one can see them. So
yeah,
the only
because
person
they
that
were
gets
so
pleasure
pointy.
from them.
Because they're so pointy. And I was like, are they like dinosaur teeth? And she said, yeah, if you want. But they were crushing the ones below, splitting them open.
Oh.
Because they're so powerful. Like
Did
a
you have them
T-Rex.
ground down?
Yes, now I've got camel teeth.
Or cow teeth?
Yeah.
Horse teeth?
Some kind of ruminant.
Well, like as in a herbivore tooth that you should have rather than a carnivore.
I feel like my powers are gone. My bone
You're not
crunching powers.
You're not a vegetarian.
Not anymore. I eat grass.
Well, you can't be a vegetarian with
grass
carnivore teeth.
Your biotic seeds or whatever you call them. Okay.
Yeah, dinosaur socks for fun. Sockology. That would indicate that you're obviously up for a fun day that day. Or perhaps you might have woken up in a bit of a bad mood and thought, how can I cheer myself up?
Destroy.
Some people might listen to Eye of the Tiger or Hairspray. Not you. You put your dinosaur socks on.
Tell me Hairspray.
And the world keeps spinning round and round, da 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 da, beat of the sound. That one.
I don't know that.
Don't you?
No.
Put it on and you find yourself dancing around the kitchen like a lunatic. But I didn't know that it was a musical about racism.
Is it?
It's awesome. Like it's a really good. It's a bit like Us. It's a light-hearted musical for a serious topic.
Serious stuff and
yeah, highly entertaining, but it gets the message through. NLP, learn through story.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. Yeah, learn through laughter. Dinosaur socks.
That's great. I'm going off from the dinosaur socks. I'll see you later, Jess.
See you later, Steve.
And I'm going to listen to Hairspray.
Good. Go and get it on and have a dance.
Whoop whoop.